Okay. All right. Let me minimize this. Start my camera. I guess it's just you and I, right?
Hey, Professor.
How you doing?
Hey, before class starts, I just wanted to check. So I was just about to submit assignment 4, but with the last assignments, I'd like to look over the rubric on Canvas, but I actually can't find that on Canvas for this one, just to make sure I'm not like, missing anything. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the rubric is, it's a verbatim copy of what it's in the documents. So, if you've hit all the points in the document, I mean, that's all a rubric is. It's a point by point, items that are straight from the Google document.
Oh, okay.
So if it's not in the Google document, then
Okay.
if it's in the Google document, then yes. Then if it's not.
All right. So should I just read that over for this?
Yeah, it's just make sure that whatever you build is based on what's in the Google document.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. A couple more minutes for people to trickle in. I'll share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
I can.
Bring up the chat. Okay, let me hide this. All right, let's see. Any questions before we get started? No? Okay. All right. Okay, so let's review the syllabus, see where we have been, where we are, and where we're going. All right, so we are right about here. And so yeah, so the exam was going to go out today, but I moved it over to the weekend. I know that folks were having some technical difficulties with the server crashing, so I gave everybody just a couple more days to wrap up the fourth assignment, as well as giving you just a couple more days to prepare for the exam. So that's going to be this upcoming Friday, and it'll be available all throughout the weekend until Monday at midnight of next week. And it'll be pretty much the material that all the way up to Redux, and it's very similar to the quizzes that you've been having, right? All multiple choice, fill in the blanks, and the review that we had on Monday is pretty much very indicative of the kinds of questions you should expect this weekend on the first exam. On where we are, right? We've been building this online learning management system where we are targeting first the faculty, right? Faculty are using it to create courses, add modules, lessons, and today we're going to introduce the ability of being able to add content in the form of widgets, different types of widgets that might be simple widgets such as images or headings or paragraphs, or more advanced widgets that might be a YouTube video, maybe embedding a slideshow, things like that. So we're going to introduce a couple widgets every week, or in every new assignment. Today we're going to introduce just a couple of really simple widgets, and faculty are going to be using these widgets to build content. Okay. What else? So up to this point, we've been using my generic server to store all the data for all the students. So it's serving several hundred users simultaneously, with everybody posting all sorts of data, and we've been storing courses, modules, lessons, topics, and so it's time for you to be able to create your own server. And so we're going to first build a server using Java Restful Services today. We're going to learn about that today. But later on, we're going to come back in about week number 10 or 11. We'll revisit this and learn how to do the same thing, but using Node.js. Okay. And so we can compare and contrast how is it easier to do it one or versus another, and some of the pros and cons of each one. All right, so yeah, as always, we're going to be using an assignment as a guide that will guide us through the learning of a new technology, architecture, best practice, and whatnot. Right, so we did present the assignment last time we met earlier this week. We'll revisit it today. We'll try to get you further. We'll get you started on the assignment. As always, you're welcome to use all the source code that we give you. We might take a couple of shortcuts here in the lecture because of time, and but then you're responsible for making sure that you finish off, and based on the description of the assignment. So you need to be able to identify any shortcuts that we might take here in the assignment. I'll point them out and leave out some comments to remind you to fix a couple things here and there. So yeah, so let's head over to the assignment and let's start working on it together. Before we get started, any questions? Okay. All right. Okay, so today we're going to be learning about Restful Web Services. We're going to be building a data model that represents some Java object, right? That that we want to be able to access data for it, right? And we've been already working with several data models that represent data about courses, about modules and lessons and topics. Today we're going to be learning about widgets. Okay, and so the other data models, the courses, the modules, the lessons, we've been storing it in a RESTful server, right, that I provided for you, right? So today we're going to be learning about you creating your own server and storing data on your own. Okay. Eventually, all this data is going to be stored in a relational database, but that's going to be the next assignment. For now, we're going to be focusing on how is it that we can access the server. How is it that the communication happens between the clients and the server? And then later on, in the following assignment, we'll learn how to do the communication with a permanent data storage solution such as MySQL. Later on, we'll play around with MongoDB. So here's the data model for the widget. It has several properties, right? It's got a name, ID, text, size, right? And it's a very denormalized data structure, right? That is capturing all the information about all sorts of different types of widgets. Not all properties are meaningful to all widgets. Some widgets will care about the size, some won't. Some will care about the name, some won't. Some will care about the classes, some won't, right? But it's got enough properties that are useful for many different types of widgets. Right? And we want to be able to do all sorts of operations, data operations on these widgets. We want to be able to create new instances. Right? We want to be able to retrieve them for later use. Right? We want to be able to delete them, update them. Okay, all different types of operations. These are the most basic types of operation that we refer to them as the Crud operation. You create, read, update, and delete. Right, and for most data models, right, those are the minimum operations that you would want to do. For widgets, because they are part of a relationship between topics and widgets, right? We will need to provide the parent relationship, just like courses have modules, modules have lessons, lessons have topics. The way we have been modeling that is that each one of them, each object has a foreign key reference to its parent. And we're going to follow the same strategy here, right? Widgets are going to have some kind of ID that lets them know what topic do they belong to, right? What is their parent topic, right? Each topic is going to have multiple widgets. And so each widget is going to have a reference back to the parent so we can use that as a filter, right? So that as we navigate through different topics, right, we can load the widgets that are specific to that topic, okay? So we will use that strategy for these two operations. We're going to be able to create a widget within a topic and also retrieve the widgets for a topic. Right? In both cases, we are using the ID of the topic to be able to filter, create or filter these widgets by their parent ID. The other ones, update widget, delete widget, find all widgets, find widget by ID, none of them use the topic ID, where this could be, you can update a widget without needing to know what is the relationship of that widget with its parent. Right? If you know the ID of the widget, you can go directly to that widget and just update it or delete it. If you know the ID, you can just remove that widget without needing to know the parent. So we'll create that in a class called Widget Services in this architecture is responsible for manipulating the data model, right? Where our data model is represented by this API here of creating, updating, deleting widgets. Right now, the data is just going to be stored in a local array. Eventually, it'll be stored in a table, in a MySQL table, where we need to talk about the communication with the database. But that's next week. Once we have the service that can create and manipulate the data model, it needs to be made available through a web interface, right? So that a UI implemented using React or Angular or Vue or whatnot, right, could use this web API to interact with this middle tier, right, that has access to the data. Right? So we'll learn how to do that and how to expose our data model through a set of HTTP URLs, an API that clients can use to interact with our data model, right? And we'll follow the RESTful service design pattern, right? Where if we're creating new data, we're going to use post. If we're retrieving data, we're going to use get, update for put, and then delete for removal. Okay. Once we have that going, right, we will need to then design the front end. And the front end is going to be very similar to what we've already done before. We'll need a service, just like we had a course service, a module service, a lesson service, a topic service. We'll need a widget service that is going to have all the CRUD operations, right, to talk to the server and retrieve data and send data over to our server. Right, you'll still use the other services that you've written before to keep talking to the modules and the lessons and the topics and the courses, with the old server, right? The server that I provide, right? But these over here are going to be talking to your server. So basically, you're going to be talking to two servers at the same time. You're going to still be talking to the generic server for the courses, modules, lessons, and service, and topics, and you're going to be talking to your server for the widgets. Okay, everything else is just React, right, or Redux, where we're going to be building a user interface around this API. Okay, all right, let's get to it. So first of all, we'll open up the Java. We're going to be using the same Java server that we wrote, a couple of months ago. We're going to revive it, and we're going to use it again to create our middle tier server. Okay, so it's should be somewhere here. I believe it's this one. If we run this Java server is going to be running at localhost 8080, and it's where we left it. It's basically where we left it off about 2 months ago, right? It's got some static HTML pages, okay, and some prototyping of the pages that we were going to build, okay, and that we then implemented them using React. So we want to use this server not only for hosting this static content, right? This is as far as the server is concerned, this is all static content. It's just text files, ASCII files with an HTML extension, CSS, JavaScript. From the server's point of view, these are all static text files. Well, we want to use our server for more than just this, right? We want to use it also to provide access to data. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Well, it all starts with creating a data model, right? Creating the data representation of what it is that we want to represent for data. Right, so first we'll create a models directory, package models, and under there we'll create our first class that is going to hold data for us. Notice that I created the directory under this default package. See this package here? That's where the demo application executable is, right? This is a main, it's an entry point. This is what gets the server up and running. Okay, so this is the entry point of the server application. We're not going to touch that. We're going to leave it alone. But I just want to point out that we're going to do all our work under this one package, right? If you do it under this one package, a lot of magic happens, right? The server is already configured to treat this package in a very special way, right? So if you do everything under this directory, then a lot of things happen for free. If you do it elsewhere in a different package outside of here, well, then you'll need to reconfigure quite a few things, right? So let's not do that. Let's keep it simple. Let's do all our work under our default package over here. So under here, we created a models package, and in here, we'll create our first Java class, right? And we'll call it a widget, right? We're following naming convention in Java naming convention where, right, our classes are nouns, right? They're singular and they're capitalized, they're camel cased, right? And here we're going to have a couple of fields of interest, right? We're going to have the primary key that's going to identify our widget uniquely. So we're going to say private, and I'm going to use long and then the ID. Then so this uniquely identifies the widget. We're also going to have here the parent topic ID, right? That is going to be treated as if it were like a foreign key, right? In a database telling me, who's my parent. Okay. All right, so let's. I'm going to represent it as a string. So this is topic ID. Now this topic ID, these are the IDs of the topics that you are creating in the generic server, right? Which are some, really long hexadecimal unique identifier that is being generated by Mongo, and it's accessible to you in the underscore ID of your topics, of your lessons, of your modules, of your courses that you're storing in Mongo, okay? And that I'm providing. All right, so those are these IDs here, right? So if we create, as you navigate to modules, lessons, topics, when you have a topic selected, right, and you want to create a brand new widget, then the widget would be created within that topic that is currently selected, right? So this is the placeholder where we're going to be storing that topic, right? Where that we belong to this topic. Okay, that's this ID here. Okay, so other than that, we'll have a couple of other attributes here. Maybe we'll have the type of the widget. Now there's going to be several. We're going to be implementing several types of widgets. We'll start with two really simple ones. And we want to represent maybe a top, like a title, right? And maybe a paragraph where we can put some text in there. But more advanced widgets could be like a YouTube video that you can have like the URL of the YouTube widget where it's being embedded, the size and things like that. But let's leave that for later. Let's talk about some really simple widgets. So in a header widget, right? We might want to know what the size of the header is, right? Whether it's heading 1, heading 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? There's 6 different sizes. And we also want the text, right? The text that goes in the label of the heading, okay? For our paragraph, right, we'll probably just need the text. We don't need the size, okay? So there we already have it. Let's keep it simple. Let's just keep these 4 attributes. Under here, let's create the setters and getters that go along with these private properties. So we'll say generate, and we can generate all the setters and getters. Okay. We'll also, for convenience sake, we'll generate also a constructor that will allow us to pass in all the arguments. So we'll say constructor, and the attributes, we'll select all of them except the ID, right? Because actually, let's create the ID as well. Let's create all of them. So, and because in Java, when you create a constructor that has several arguments, right, you lose the default constructor, the empty argument constructor, right? So that one we need. That's required. Okay, and so we're going to say generate constructor, and I don't want any. Okay, so the reason I'm explicitly implementing it is because I implemented this convenient constructor, right? And if I do that, if you override that, then you lose the default one. So there it is. It's not really doing anything. Okay, so we want to create several of these widgets and eventually store them in the database. But for now, we'll store them just in an array in our local server. Right, so where do we store that array? So we're going to create yet another package here. So package. So this is services. So I guess I already have services. Never mind. There we go. We have services. So here we're going to create a service, right? That's going to hold the data that we are representing, that we're storing, right? And so we'll call it widget service, which is based off of the type of data that we want to store, right? So we want to store widgets, so widget service, right? We want to implement here all the Crud operations for widgets, right? We want to create widgets, remove widgets, update widgets, find widgets, right? Right. So here we need a place to store this data. Now, eventually, it'll go to a table, rows in a MySQL database, right? But we don't have that yet. So for now, right, we're going to just have here a private list of widgets that is going to play the part of our database for now, right? So here we have an array of widgets, which I am initializing it to be an empty array of widgets, right? And we can initialize that. We can initialize the widgets in a static block. We're going to throw this away next week, right? Because we want to store this in the database. But for now, because we don't have the database, I'm just going to populate this array of widgets, and it's going to be our database. Okay, so let's create a couple of widgets. So we'll say widget 1, we'll say new widget, and the arguments are, right, we can specify the ID of the widget. Oops. So we'll say 1, 2, 3, and it's long. So that's the ID of the widget. And also the ID of the parent topic. I'll say, I don't know, ABC 1, 2, 3, right? We'll have some, some unique identifier that was created by Mongo. Okay. What else do we have here in the widget? We have constructor. Let's see. We have the type. So maybe this is a header. And what else do we have? Header. That's the type. The size 1, and maybe the text. Okay, so the text for this header, instead of header, heading. It's a heading, yeah, heading. And the text will be, welcome to widget list. Okay, and let's just create just a couple more. So this is widget number 2, widget number 3, 4, and 5, and the IDs might be 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, and 5, 6, 7. Right, and for the topic, we'll create 2 topics. Right, so these 2 widgets belong to the same topic, and this one will belong to 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Right, so these 2 widgets belong to topic 1, and this belongs to topic 2. Okay. Let's see. So this is the topic 1 has two widgets. One is maybe a header. The other one is a paragraph. Right. This one is maybe has 2 headings and a paragraph. So paragraph here. Or maybe 1 heading and 2 paragraphs. Paragraph. There we go. The size. This one is maybe size 2. The paragraph here might be, I don't know, some paragraph might say laudem ipsum, some dummy text. Like that. And this is maybe we should give it names here as widgets for topic ABC 1, 2, 3. And this one might say widgets for topic ABC 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right, so we got widgets. Let's add them to our database, like an insert. So we'll say widgets. So this is widgets plural. This might be widgets dot add, and we can add each one of these widgets. So this is maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we got 5 widgets. Perfect. Okay. So one of the first things that we'd like to be able to try and do is retrieve these widgets, right? So let's do that first. But all the CRUD operations are going to be here, right? We need to be able to create a widget. Right? We need to be able to retrieve the widgets, update the widgets, and delete the widgets. So let's first play around with retrieve all the widgets. Okay, so will be something like public list of widgets, and the function might be called something like find all widgets. Okay, and this is basically just returns the widgets. Okay, let's do that. And so how is it that we allow the rest of the world, right, maybe a React application, right, interact with this data, right? We need to be able to expose this as a URL right, accessible through a browser, right? So we're going to be doing that in a controller, right? So again, the service responsibility is to maintain the data, right? To manipulate the data, to work with the data, okay? It's not its responsibility to know how to make this data available to the rest of the world, right? Its only responsibility is to provide access to the data and functions that allow you to manipulate that data, all the CRUD operations. So the responsibility of making this available to the rest of the world, right, is a controller. So we'll say controllers. So in a controller, right, we're going to be putting functions that allow us to access the data, right, through an HTTP, through HTTP requests. Okay, and so the way we're going to do that is that we're going to annotate this as a REST controller, right? This annotation makes all the content inside of this class accessible through HTTP. We just need to be able to configure what HTTP URLs allow you to access what inside of this class, right? So for instance, we would like to be able to say something like, I want to retrieve the list of widgets. I want to retrieve all the widgets, find all widgets, right? And the way I'd like to be able to access it is through HTTP GET, okay? Right, and so for instance, I might say, if an incoming GET request comes in and it says, find all widgets, then I want this function to execute and give me back some data, okay? Where do we get that data? Well, we're going to get it from the service, right? So the widget service is responsible for getting, updating, creating data, right? So it would get it from the service. It would return the service dot find all widgets. Okay? Everybody okay? Right. So let's try it out. Let's see if this works. Just a couple more things. We need to create an instance of this service, right? And the way we're going to do it is not instantiating ourselves. Instead, right, we're going to use a technique called inversion of control or injection, right? Dependency injection, right? That you can annotate this and say, hey, I have this dependency with this class. Please instantiate it for me, and then make it available as a reference in this variable. It's complaining because this only works if you annotate your data source here. You annotate it as a service. Okay, now it's accessible through AutoWire. Okay, now it's accessible. All right, so let's try it out. Okay, let's restart the server, and let's see if we can hit it with find all widgets. Let's see if it retrieves the data. Okay, so let's see, we still have that. Okay, so based on this, if I use this URL here at the server, notice that indeed, right, we have access to that data, right? And this is how, a React application would be able to come in here and, use fetch with a get and retrieve the data from the server. Now, this data right now resides in a static array list, right, that contains, 5 widgets. Eventually, right, about a week from now, we're going to get started on, how is it that we might store this instead in a relational database and retrieve this for permanent storage, okay? But for now, we're learning how to communicate with the server first. We need to learn that first, and then we'll talk about how do we communicate with the database, okay? All right, so we access the data. Now, this URL here, we were pretty, flexible about what we might type here. But it turns out that the RESTful API, the RESTful REST is a convention, right, that stipulates how, how is it that we're going to interact with the server, right? So for instance, one of the things that it stipulates is that if you are reading data, if a client is reading data, then it should do so using GET, HTTP GET. Right? It also stipulates that whatever it is that you're accessing, right, it should be part of the URL, right? It should be clear what it is that you're retrieving. So for instance, here it's clear, right, from the description of this URL that we are retrieving widgets. Okay, the nomenclature, the naming convention is that it should have the noun, right, that describes what it is that you're retrieving. So in this case, we are retrieving widgets. It should be a plural noun. Okay, and if you specify some kind of ID, then you should return that one record matched to that ID. But if you don't specify any IDs, then the convention is that you retrieve all of them as an array. Okay. Other conventions say that you shouldn't put any other classifiers as part of the path. No verbs. Okay. Nothing. You should be as terse as possible. Right? It shouldn't be English sentences like we have here, right? They should be something like this, just /widgets, right? This means I want all the widgets, right? Just retrieve for me all the widgets. That's it, okay? Also, the convention stipulates that so that we don't confuse. This is a server that can either serve static HTML, right, CSS, JavaScript, or it can also send back data. Now this kind of content is obviously for human consumption, right, for human eyes. Okay, let's see, there's a question on the chat. Is it by default JSON? Yes, actually it is by default JSON. It used to be that the default data format was XML, right? This used to be XML. XML was very, very popular at the turn of the century. A lot of folks had invested a lot of their interest in agreeing with the industry that it was data transfer was going to be using XML. With the explosion of web applications and clients being more and more written in JavaScript, it became clear that JSON is a better format since the clients that are going to be consuming this data are written in JavaScript. They would love to have the data already formatted, for their use, that is native to JavaScript. Okay, so that's why the default is JSON. Yeah, so we want to be able to, we're using the server to provide content that is either consumable by a human being with their eyes, it looks pretty and padding and whatnot. So it's static content. From the server's point of view, this is static. But from the server's point of view, this is dynamic, right? This is dynamic data, right? That we can generate on the fly. Maybe we're retrieving from a database, right? We can edit it, update it, whatnot. And this is not meant for human consumption, right? This is meant to be consumed by some algorithm, right? That then might decide to render it somehow, right? We're going to be rendering as widgets, right? But certainly this is not data for human consumption, right? This is data consumable by some kind of algorithm. Okay, so to be able to distinguish between these two types and that it's clear, right? Then the convention says that we should prepend our URLs with some token that we can all agree on, that we can easily identify and understand its meaning, right? So for instance, one such token is that you prepend it with /API, okay? And meaning that what follows, right, is you're accessing data. You're not accessing static HTML, static JavaScript, CSS, blah, blah, blah. Instead, you're accessing some kind of data, right? Other popular tokens are REST. Is data. As long as you and your team, all agree that this is what that token means, right? That it's data that you're retrieving, that's fine, right? And obviously you can document this if anybody wants to access, because notice that once we put this live, anybody who knows this URL and that we have advertised this, right, can come in here and access this data. If we tell them that the widgets are available at /API/widgets, folks can build all sorts of really cool applications, either phone applications or web applications, mobile, whatever, as long as they know how to interact with this data source. Make sense? All right, so that's all convention. And so we can retrieve all the widgets. Now, typically, it makes no sense to retrieve all the widgets, since some widgets belong to one topic and other widgets belong to another topic. More typically, we want to be able to retrieve this data within a specific context. In our case would be for a given topic, right? So we want to retrieve maybe the widgets for topic ABC 1, 2, 3, or the widgets for topic ABC 2, 3, 4. Okay, and so let's do that. Right, so let's expand our service to provide data using that kind of filter. So we're going to say public, same thing. We're going to come back with an array of widgets. We're going to retrieve widgets, but now it's within a context. So for some topic, and we're going to provide a topic ID. Okay, which is string. It's a string. And basically what we're going to do is that we're going to create a subset of the original array of widgets, right? And we're going to pick out only those widgets by their topic ID. Okay, so let's do that. So we can create a list of widgets, which is I'm going to initialize it as an empty array of widgets. And we're just going to do a simple for loop, right? I mean, there's more elegant ways of doing this, right? But this certainly works. So we're iterating over the widgets, right? And we're asking, if the widget's ID, right, matches get ID. If it's equal, well, not the ID actually, the topic ID. If the topic ID, right, matches the topic ID that you pass in as an argument, then we're going to push that widget into the widget, into our array, right? And at the end, we're just going to return our array. So our array would be either empty because there are no widgets in that for that topic, or it'll be those widgets that we filtered out for that particular topic. Okay, let's save that. Now, going back to the controller, our function might be something like probably the same signature. So find widgets for topic, right? We're gonna have the string topic ID, which basically, we don't know how to do this, right? We are a controller. We have no idea where the data is. But we know who has the data. We know that the service has the data. So we're just going to blindly return whatever the service does. Right? We're going to delegate this task, right, over to the service. The service knows how to do this, right? Right, so where do we get this topic ID? Right. Again, we're going to pass it as a parameter through the HTTP request. Right. We're going to make this function available on the web so that folks can integrate with us and retrieve data as they need it, right? So since we are reading data from the server, again, the convention is that we're mapping it to an HTTP GET. We're starting up with API. We want widgets, but we don't want all the widgets. We don't want all the widgets. We want the widgets within a specific context, right? And the convention stipulates that you prepend the data that you want, you prepend it with whatever context, right? You're discussing this, right? So you want the widgets, but the widgets within a particular topic, right? So you put the context for which you want the widgets, right? You want the widgets for specific topic, right? So here's topics, and then we're going to provide here a parameter, right? A path variable here that we're going to call topic ID. So notice the curly brackets, right? Curly brackets means that this is a placeholder, right? That is going to change over time, right? So it'll be topic 1, 2, 3, topic 2, 3, 4, topic whatever, and then we want the widgets for that topic. Okay, so this basically what it does is that it's going to parse. We want to be able to parse that placeholder and then pass it and map it to this parameter, right? So to do that, there is a path variable annotation that does just that, right? You tell it which variable in the path, right, which in our case is this TID, right? We want to grab a hold of that, parse it in, and then pass it as a parameter to the function. Okay, all right, there you have it. All right, let's try it out. Let's start the server, and just to remind us, the IDs for our topics were ABC 1, 2, 3. So let's try that out. Let's copy that. Let's go back to our IDE, our browser here, and says, okay, so that we don't really want all the widgets. We want the widgets within the topic whose ID is ABC 1, 2, 3. And there you have it, right? These are the topics for, the widgets for that particular topic. Or if I have another topic, 2, 3, 4, right, it will return the other 3 widgets, right? So this is useful, right, from a user UI's point of view, right, to, as you navigate through the different topics, as you, click on the different topic pills, you're going to get a different ID, right? And that ID, right, you're going to encode it in as part of the URL, right, to drive the navigation, right, and the routing in your React application. You're going to parse that topic ID and then use it, right, to go and fetch the data from the server, right? So actually, let's do just that, right? Let's head over to the client side. Let's build a really simple UI for us to to try and interact with this API. Okay, right. So let's open up our React project here. Let's see. Right now we just have the Java middle tier backend project. So let's open up another one. Let's see. It will be the React for section 2. I think it's this one. So let's run this, see what we got so far. Okay, let's see. So we got course table, and we can navigate to a particular course. And I don't know if we have modules in there. Okay, we got modules here. And if we click on modules, I don't know if we have lessons. Okay, we got a lesson here. And if we click on lesson, presumably we can have topics. But I don't believe I created the topic pills, right? I left that for you to do, right? So we need to be able to, right, to be able to click and select different topics, and depending on the topic that we click, right, we want to then render the widgets. Okay, so let's get started with let's try and get the widget list component at least rendered on the screen, right? So we at least have something to play with. Okay, all right. So let's head over here and let's do our work in a separate directory. We'll call it course editor, and in there, right, we'll have lots of other things. We have the module list would be in there, the tabs, blah blah blah. But then let's have a different directory called widgets. In here, we'll put the widget list, the list of all the widgets. We'll also have each individual widget, right, separately, right, like the header widget, the paragraph widget, the YouTube widget. will be a separate component. Okay, so let's create here a widget list. So a new JavaScript, we'll call it widget list. And in here, we're going to have just an import, just a regular React application. So React here, and this will be const widget list, right? And then we'll return something like div, and for now it'll be something like h2 widgets, widget list. Okay, we'll export this. Default widget list. All right. Okay, so let's try and render this. Where do we render this? Let's see. So I believe we would render it in the course editor, right? Right below the lesson tabs. Okay. There should be a lesson tab, then the topics, right? And then the widgets down below, right? But we don't have the topics, but we'll have to do without. So under here, we're going to have the widget list like that. So if we head over here, notice that now we have the widget list, right? We have the widget list. Okay, perfect. Now, just so that we play around with communicating with the server, right? Let's play around with that. Now, obviously, there's a lot to do here about selecting lessons and modules and the topic, and then choosing the widgets for that particular topic. But that's more just navigation and URL parsing, blah blah blah. The topic of discussion here is can we communicate with the server? And we already show you that we can communicate with the server. I mean, we've done that already, right? I mean, you do that for modules, you do that for lessons. The only difference here is that you're communicating not with a generic server, but instead you're communicating with your own server. Okay, right? So let's do that. So in widget list, how do we communicate with our own server? Well, you would do that in widget service. Okay, you create a widget service, and that's where you create all your functions to talk to the server. Okay, but this is my first shortcut. My first shortcut is that I'm not going to write the widget service, right? I'm going to let you do that, right? I'm going to write it here inside of my widget list, right? I'm going to leave it up to you, right, to move it and put it in the right place, okay, right? And it's going to be very, very similar to all the other services that you've written already, right? The module service, right? The lesson service, the topic service. It's going to look very, very similar. So I'm just going to take a shortcut. I'm going to put everything here, right? So I'm not skipping between files. The other thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to maintain state right here in the widget list using use effect and use state. I'm just going to maintain state right here. But what you should do is instead maintain state using a reducer. Okay, and that's what the application, what the assignment asks you to do, to maintain the state of this widget list in the reducer. But again, right, I'm going to leave that up to you, right? Because you've already done that, right? Well, you've already learned how to do that, right? So I'll let you do that. Okay, so let's maintain state here. All right, let's bring the use state and use effect, and so we're gonna define here a list of widgets, and set widgets, right? And this is going to be a use state, which is going to initialize the list of widgets as an empty array. Okay, but I'm going to put here to do, so you don't forget, move state management to reducer, to widget reducer, as described in the assignment. Okay. All right, so we have a list of widgets, and so we want to be able to render them. We want to go fetch them on the server, and we're going to do that in our use effect, right? If you remember, use effect is going to be invoked at the beginning, right? It's going to be invoked at the beginning, right, when this component loads, right? And so it's a good time for us to update the state, right? And what are we going to update it with? We want to go and fetch data. We want to go fetch this data. We want to go fetch this data right here, right? We want to invoke this URL here, or maybe even better, grab all the widgets, grab all these widgets and render all the widgets. Okay, so let's do that. So how do we do that? We do that using fetch, right? Use fetch, the URL, and this comes back with a response, right? And then we parse it as being the actual widgets that come back from the server, right? And what do we want to do with that? We want to set the widgets. We can say widget, set widgets with the widgets that come from the server. Yes? And here we could maybe just render, just for now, just so that we have a clue that this is actually working, we're going to render how many widgets we got from the server. Dot length. Right? And if we go here, we refresh. Okay, let's see. Looks, it's setting 0. Right? Something didn't work. Let's take a look at if we got an error. Let's go to the console. And let's see. Okay, notice that we're getting this access to, looks like we did try to do it. Notice that our code tries to do a localhost 8080 and try to hit the API widgets, but our access was denied. See that? You can see that in the network as well. In the network, you can see, there it is. See that? It says course error. See that? It's a cross-origin resource sharing error, right? CORS stands for cross-origin resource sharing. Okay, and so what's happening is that, right? It explains in the error. You can read it. You can say, it says, you tried from this domain localhost 3000. You tried to access another domain localhost 8080, and that's a no-no. That's a violation of the security policy. Okay, and this is this is vestige from early on when the web came out and JavaScript just had come out, right? Folks were very skeptical, and they were very concerned that what do you mean I'm going to download an HTML file and JavaScript and executables that is going to execute on my browser? Are you crazy? I'm not going to let anybody do that. What if you start reading through my file system and read all my email, right? All that, all my personal information, and then you send it off to whatever. So there were a lot of security policies that were put in place to limit what JavaScript could do. When you download it from a website, right? Our website is localhost 3000, right? We're downloading widget list. We're downloading widget list here, right, from localhost 3000. And what it's trying to do is trying to access another port 8080. Okay, so it was downloaded from 3000, but it's trying to connect to 8080, right? But basically, we're downloading it from our local Node.js server that is running at 3000, and it's trying to connect to a Java server that is running at 8080. And that's a clear violation of the CORS policy, right? That scripts that are downloaded from one domain are only allowed to talk, right, and establish HTTP connections back to the server that they were downloaded from the domain that they were downloaded from. They're not allowed to talk to other domains. Okay, but there's a way around this, right? We can configure this. We can configure the security, and the way it works is that the browser basically went out to 8080, the server, and asked the server, hey server, is it okay if this JavaScript from 3000 talks to you? Are you accepting communication from this domain? And the default is that it isn't, right? 8080 is responding with, I don't know who that is. Okay, so let's configure that. Let's go back to our Java server, and here in our controller, remember our controller, the controller is responsible for all things HTTP, right? Anything that has to do with HTTP and talking to the HTTP layer, the controller is responsible for that. It is not responsible for the data. The service is responsible for the data, and the service doesn't know anything about HTTP. It only knows about data. Okay, so their roles are very well defined, right? And that's why we call them web service, right? The service, right? This widget service is doing the service role, whereas the controller is taking the HTTP role, the web side of web service. Together, right? The service and the controller, they implement the web service. Okay. So anyway, so we need to configure here to allow, right, communication to come from a different domain, right? And the easiest way to do that is right here at the controller. You can use the cross-origin annotation that allows you to configure, right, what kind of security you want, right? What should the server allow, right? So we're going to be very, very open about this, and we're going to say that the origins, right? If the communication comes from domains that I list here, then I'm going to allow it to go through. Otherwise, block them, right? So I'm going to be very open about this, and I'm going to say I'm going to allow anybody. Star. Star means I don't care what domain comes they come from. I'm allowing everybody to come in, and this is okay, right? If your data is fairly open and you don't really care who's using your data, that's totally fine, right? More common, we want folks to maybe have an account with us, right? And only allow folks that are either paying for this or that we know about it or have registered with us, right? And then we wouldn't be as open about this, right? We would force people to log in, right? And then provide some kind of identifying token, right? So that we know who you are. But the easiest way is just to open it up to everybody like that. Okay, so we've done that. Let's refresh. Let's restart the server. Let's go back to the client again, to the browser, and see if we have cleared out that error that we have. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back. Let's refresh. Notice at this time we should not get the access control. Perfect. We didn't. Okay, notice that this time it says that we did get 5 widgets. So that, right, we can actually print out. We can print out what came back. Right here we can say, where's my cursor? There we go. We can print out what the widgets are. We can stringify and look at the response, right, from the server. There it is. That's the response from the server, right? It looks like it's an array of objects, right? And we should be able to just iterate over that. Okay, so let's do that. We can say, we can do an UL class list group, right? And then iterate over that array. We can say widgets.map widget, right? And generate a line item, right, with the key of the widget.id. Notice ID, not underscore ID, right? Because remember, underscore IDs are coming from the Mongo database, right? That's the courses, the modules, the lessons, the topics, right? Those are all coming from a Mongo database, which uses underscore ID for its primary key. Here, we've decided to use just a plain old ID without the underscore. Okay. And the reason is that we're going to be using MySQL, not Mongo at first, right? We'll play around with Mongo a little later. Okay, there we go. So we have the widget title, the widget ID, and here we can display, maybe the widget type, maybe. There it is. See that? We're displaying the widget types. I guess this should be class, right? Class, so list, group, item. There we have it. Okay, excellent. So we have widgets. Perfect. Excellent. Right, and this is coming from our server. All right, so let's take this a little further. Instead of displaying the widget here, right, more convenient, because each widget is going to be fairly complex. It's going to have, you know, it's going to have each widget is going to have its own little form, right? So we're gonna because it's going to, you know, each one has its own complexities. We're going to implement each widget in a separate JavaScript file as a separate component. So for instance, we're going to have the heading widget here. Heading widget. And this is same thing. It's going to import React from React. And we'll have just const heading widget. Maybe we can pass the widget as an argument, as a parameter for rendering. So this might be div, and this is might say you know, h1, and then this would be, you know, widget dot text, something like that. And let's export this. So export default heading widget. Here we go. And the paragraph widget might look something like this. So the paragraph widget, this will be, oops. There we go. Okay, so this will be, I'm going to replace this with paragraph widget, replace, and this one will be just a paragraph, right? And the something like that. Okay. All right, so we have the two widgets, and then so the widget list, what it could do is that as it's iterating, right, it could decide that if the type is heading, then you can render the heading widget and pass the widget as an argument down to the component, right? Or if the type instead is paragraph, okay, then we will send it over to the paragraph widget. Okay, and it'll implement as follows. There it is. See that? So there's the heading and the paragraphs. Everybody okay? That makes sense? All right, so let's go a little further. And you know, we don't want to display all the widgets. What we want to do is instead, you know, instead of going out to this and retrieving all the widgets, we really want to retrieve specific widgets for specific topics, right? So we want to be able to, you know, select the topic, and based on that topic, right, display one list of widgets or the other list of widgets, right? So let's take a look at how we would go about that, right? So first of all, right, we never implemented the topic list, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a dummy version of it, right, with enough, you know, with enough to simulate as if I had actual topics, right? So let me create a quick topic ID, pills here. So this is topic pills. Okay, so this is, you know, import React from React. And so in here, we're going to have, you know, topic pills that it's just going to render here. And this might be render maybe as yeah, UL. What is this? Class, you know, nav, and then nav pills, right? And this will be I don't know. What is it? Li class. This will be nav item. right? And this will be some hyperlink, a href, and this will be class nav link, is it? I think. And this will be something like, topic 1, and let's have another topic 2, right? 2 topics, and we're going to export this default topic pills. So in the course editor, let's render that here. So this will be, topic pills. So there we have topic 1 and topic 2. Although it's not rendering as pills. I'm not sure why. Must have gotten wrong the styling. Yeah, so real quick here, we have get bootstrap and docs, and this is pills. No, not those pills. Nav tabs, available pills, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Pills. UL, blah, 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 nav pills. I thought that's what I did. Nav link. UI class, nav pills. Isn't that what I did? Let's see, UL class name nav pills, LI nav item, and there's nav link. Interesting. And it's not rendering. And how about active? How could I turn something active? So if I say this is active, is it render? Oh, interesting. Why is it not taking? All right, well, whatever. So what I want to do here is, right, as I click this, if I click one or the other, I want to add here the topic ID, and as the topic ID changes, I want to be able to render, right, the different widgets. Okay, so how do we do that, right? Well, we need to add the route, and the routing, I believe it's in app.js. Let's see. Well, actually, no. Is it in Course Manager? Let's see. We have the routes in here. Course table. All right, course editor. There's course editor. Okay, so we went all the way up to lesson ID. All right, so let's add also. Let's add topics. So this will be topic ID, right? And let's also add widget ID, which will be useful later on, right? Okay, so they all navigate to course editor. Perfect. Okay. And so we need to our hyperlinks need to have this. We need to create that, right? So let's go to the topic pills. So these hyperlinks need to be what? Link, right? Link. This is supposed to be to, right? They need to be that, something like that, of which these are variables. These are all variables that we're going to get from where? From our params, right? So we're going to import use params from React. Oh, from here, right here. We already did it, right? And so we can retrieve all those parameters from the path, right? We can extract the course ID. We can extract the what else do we need? Course ID, module ID. We need the lesson ID, and we need the topic ID from the params. Like that, right? Okay, excellent. So we can now use it to populate this. So this will be that. Perfect. This will be that. This will be the lesson and the topic. Actually, no, the topic we're going to hard code, right? The topic we're going to hard code because we know, right? We know that we have two, we hard coded them in the server. We need to hard code them here as well. So this will be ABC123, right? And then this one will be, this will be ABC234. Okay. All right. So let's see. Not both of them active. I don't want both of them to be active. Yeah, I don't want them to be both of them active. Okay. So if I click here, let's see. There we go. So you notice that we are encoding the ID right there. See that? See that? Right. This is changing as I click here. Right. The ID is being encoded as part of the URL. Perfect. Excellent. Now we can use this. We can use this to drive the widgets down below. Right. So in the widget list, we go back to the widget list. We can now do the same thing as before. We can use params, right? From course. From router DOM, right? We can import the use params from React router DOM so that we can parse the topic ID from here, right? So you can say const topic ID from the URL, use params. And now that we have the topic ID, instead of retrieving here, actually, let's move this up here. Instead of retrieving all the widgets, instead we can retrieve the widgets for that particular topic ID, right? So this instead is going to be what? Comment that out. This will be instead the other URL, right? It's going to be topics / the topic ID. There we go. Right, meaning retrieve from me not all the widgets, but only the widgets for that specific topic ID. Now, topic ID is going to be changing all the time, right? As you click, so you need to add it to the filter here. Otherwise, you're going to end up in an infinite loop. Was there a question? Okay. Oh, another thing to remember here. You can say move server communication to widgets service, right? Widget service. All right, let's see if it works. Let's refresh. Okay, notice that it looks like it's working. Notice that now we have only 2 widgets. How about we click on this? Notice that now we have 3. See that? 1, 2, 1, 2. See that? All right, looks like it's working, right? We can now load either widgets from topic 1 or widgets from topic 2. See that? Perfect. All right, so let's go a little further. How about being able to create new widgets, right? So maybe, right, we would like to have here maybe at the end of this list widget, we can have maybe like a plus sign that if we click on it, right, we can create new widgets, right? So for instance, we might have here I class, you know, FAS, FA plus, right? And maybe double the size, and maybe we can float it to the right-hand side, right? And there it is, there's a plus sign. If we click on it, maybe we can call a function here, const, that says, you know, create widget for topic. Okay, and then we can create the widgets for that topic. Okay, right. So let's do that. If we click on this, we say on click, we're going to invoke create widget for topic. And we already have the topic ID because we read it from the path, right? So we can do a fetch, right? We're going to do a fetch. It's going to be the same URL. Same URL. We're going to post right? Because there's a relationship of creating widgets under the context of the topic, right? I use the same URL pattern, right? I first put the context, topics in the topic ID, and then the child widgets. This is not a get, instead of it's a post. So the method would be post. We're going to send in the body. We're going to send a default widget, and I think the assignment says that the default widget type is heading. I don't know if it's size 1 or 2, I forget. I think it's size 1. And the default text is new widget. Right, we're going to send that over. And then also the headers, we're going to say that we're sending the content that we're sending should be interpreted as JSON. Okay, so this is going to come back from server. What I'm going to do, the server is going to come back with the actual widget that was inserted in the database. In our case, it's an array. It's inserted into the array, right? So the actual widget that was created in the database, right? And what we're going to do is that we're just going to append it to the array of widgets, right? Again, you're going to be doing this in the reducer, not here, right? But right, I'm just showing you how to do it all in one single file. So we're going to say set widgets. We have the old widgets, right? The old widgets. So that, and so we're going to return. We're going to return widgets that contain the old widgets and the new actual widget appended at the end. Okay. All right. So let's see if that works. So let's see in the inspect, you can see the network. Okay, and so we have topic 1 selected. Okay, topic 1. We say plus. Okay, notice it's complaining. It's again, we get the course error. What's going on? I thought we fixed that. Right. What's going on here is that we posted, we sent out a post to a URL that doesn't exist. Remember, our server had 2 gets, right? We configured 2 get operations, but we never configured a post. So it's complaining, saying that you're trying to do an operation that is not allowed, right? Only gets are allowed because that's all the server is allowing, right? Let's go back to the server, and receive a post, right? We're going to allow a post, so post mapping. Right, and the URL is going to be the same as this, same exact URL, right? Because we are establishing a relationship between, between a topic, a particular topic, and the widget. So we're inserting a widget within the context of a topic. Okay, and we're going to send you. We are sending you the ID of the topic. Plus, we're sending you in the body, we're sending you the brand new widget that we want you to insert, right? So, and we're going to return to you the actual widget that was inserted in the database. In our case, the array. Okay, so we're going to say create widget for topic, right? And we need the topic ID. And we need the actual widget object. Okay, and so what do we get this? So this we know how to get, right? We just are just going to parse this path variable over here, and we just annotate it and just say, we say that it's path variable, and the variable name is TID. So we're reading that from the path variable, and we're passing it as an argument to the topic ID, and then. Now, where do we get the widget though? The widget comes in the body, right? So the request is sending this URL. It's also in the request. It's sending this JSON, right, embedded inside of the body of the request. the HTTP request. So to parse that, there is a request body. See that request body? Request body will automatically parse the JSON object and try to map all the JSON attributes that come in. We'll try to map it to the attributes of your Java class, right? ID with ID, topic ID. Well, we're not. Are we sending a topic ID? No, we're not sending the topic ID. With the topic ID is right here, right? It's not in the body. We did not include the topic ID in the body, so it's not there. We did include the type. We did include the size. We did include the text. So we only included these three things, but we never included the ID or the topic ID. All right, we never included that. But we did provide the topic as part of the path. So we could set it right here. We could just say widget dot set the topic ID with the topic ID that we just parsed from the path, right? The ID, we also need to set the ID, right? In a database, it would the database who sets up the ID using something like auto increment or sequences or whatever, right? Here we need to do it ourselves for now, right? Later on, we'll let the database do it, but for now, we can set the ID. We can say widget dot set ID long, and so maybe we'll do we'll use new date, okay, and then get the time. What is it complaining about? Date. We'll take the util date, and then we'll get the get time, which is long. Perfect. Okay, there we go. So we have the ID. So we generated the ID just like the database would generate the ID. And then again, we don't handle data. So maybe a better place to do this probably is not here in the controller, probably in the service. That would be a better place to put it, right? But the service doesn't have this function, right? So let's create it in the service. So we'll do public widget create, and then we're going to pass the topic ID and the brand new widget that we want to create. Right? And so let's move this. Actually, this is better to be done in the service, right? So it is the service who's responsible for the data and all that. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to blindly call the service and let the service deal with this, right? We're going to say, I'm going to return whatever the service returns. I'm going to say service dot, create. I'm going to pass you everything you need. Topic ID. I'm going to pass you also the widget, and you deal with it, right? You create, you initialize everything you need, and then once you're ready, you can add it to the. You can add it, right, to the array of widgets. Right, and then I can return the widget, the brand new widget that we updated the ID, we updated the parent, okay, and now we can return it. Haven't been inserted, we can just return it, and it should be there. Okay, let's try it out. So let's restart the server. Okay, so let's see if this works. All right, so let's see. We have a topic for this topic here. We got these two. Let's clear this out. Let's not do a plus. And oops, something went awry. Widgets map. Widgets. Did we do 200? So it looks like it created. Let's see, options, posts. It came back. All right, it did come back with an ID, so that worked. The topic ID worked, so it looks like it was able to create it. It was able to create it. Let's refresh. Okay, it did create the widget. It did create the widget, so that worked. What is complaining about? Let's go back to our browser. So what did we do here? We did fetch, yeah, we did the post. So it must have not liked this. Oh, okay. No, because okay, here's the actual widget that came back, and we're just setting the widgets, set widgets to, it's a function, the old widgets, and we are returning what? Oh, no, we're not returning this. Okay, no. We are returning a brand new array, that basically has the old widgets plus the one widget. Okay, let's try that. Okay, let's close that. Let's open it up. Okay, that sort of worked. Okay, so why is it not, the actual widget doesn't have the text? Is it a text? Let's step through it. Let's step through it. Let's go to source. Let's close all this. Let's open up widget list. Let's put a breakpoint here. There it is. Let's put a breakpoint right there. Let's create a new one. Hit plus. Okay, let's see what comes back. We have widgets. Oh, widgets. Set widgets. Yeah. Maybe I'm using this as overloaded. This widgets here. The actual widget came back. Oh, we didn't parse it. We did not parse it. Oh, okay. I know what's going on. So we first need to parse the JSON out of the response, right? So response.json. There we go. Let's try it again. Let's add. There we go. We have 4 new widgets down below. There we go. See that? And if we go to topic number 2, we don't have headings. So let's add another one here. Okay, there we go. We got 2 here. Whereas that one has, the first one has, like 5, right? And this one has 2. All right, make sense? All right, so we demonstrated how to create a new server, right? And represent the data model, how to expose that data model through a controller and map it through several RESTful APIs, right? That follow a convention, naming convention, and the structure, right? We then expose that to a React application that can access this, interact with this RESTful API to retrieve data, create new data, right? Later on, we'll talk about how we can edit this, right? So maybe put a little cog. So when you click on it, it changes it into an editable form, right? That you can change the size of the widget, the size of the header, and change the paragraph and all that good stuff. Okay. All right. So that's all I had for you today. Any questions? Right. If there are no questions, then I thought maybe if folks had questions about the assignment or the midterm, upcoming midterm, I wanted to open up for questions, general questions.
Professor, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I just ran into an issue before deploying to Heroku. When I click the course on the table or on grid, URL, I mean, browser take the URL, but it doesn't re-render it. I have to refresh it to get the modules, topics, everything, and I don't know how to solve it.
Did you want to show me?
Yeah, sure. Just a second, please. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, when I hit this, as you can see, it takes the URL, but it doesn't render it. When I refresh it, it goes to the module page.
Do it again.
This doesn't work. I click it. Here it loads the URL, but when I refresh it, I can see it.
Okay, go back. Do it again. One more time.
This.
Okay, wait. Don't leave it. Okay, can you? All right, let's go through your routes. Let me see your app.js. Okay, so let me see. Course manager. So courses layout, courses / layout, exact equal true renders your course manager, and the other ones are courses layout edit course ID, also exact equal true, and you're rendering the course editor. Okay, go into your, so this is app.js. Okay, let's go into course manager.
I tried to use this within course manager as well, it just didn't work.
Okay, so go to course manager.
Just a second.
Okay, go up a little bit. Course header, course table, course grid, courses, table, grid, course grid. Can we make those exact?
Those?
Yeah, can we make them all exact? No, not there, in the route.
Here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, copy that and paste them into all of them. No, not there. On line 78.
Yep, yeah. And
line 73, yeah. And then down at line 95. Okay. Anything else? Okay, go back.
This time it just.
Interesting. Right click and show me. Inspect. Okay, clear the go to the console and clear that. Clear. Just clear the errors on the left. There. Okay, so do that again. Go back. Okay, clear that. All right, so can I see your course editor? Course editor, I go at the top. Okay, oh, okay, you got provider, course editor, course title, blah, 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 use effect, get title, yada, 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 get title. Course server is fine, yada, 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 yada. Okay, so where are you? Okay, come in here. Prompts, store, yada, yada, yada. Okay, scroll down further.
Maybe course row, because I'm navigating to module from course row.
Yeah, go to module list. So what are you doing here? Scroll up. What are you doing here? You're saying layout, course ID, module ID, use effect, find modules for course ID. Okay. Scroll down, all the way down. All the way, all the way. Okay, find modules for course, course ID, module service, course, the modules, find modules for course.
It wasn't like that where I updated today to meet the requirement of assignment with this modules ID. I mean the course ID. This after updating, I run into that issue.
Updating what? What do you mean?
I mean the handout, the demo that you gave us that we did during the class. I mean when you did in the class, and I use it. It has a different route than the assignments requirement. So I updated to the assignments requirement, and then I run into that issue.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna have to step through this. Let me. Can you invite me as a collaborator so I can clone it and play around with it myself?
Sure.
And send the invite to Janunzi at Gmail.
I can't give you the control through the Zoom, right?
No, that send me the Git
Oh.
repository.
Oh, Git. I haven't pushed that one yet.
Oh, you don't?
I mean,
Okay.
after the
All
update,
right.
yeah.
Let me try stepping through this. Can you give me control?
I tried to give it to you, but
Let's see. Use keyboard layout. Use my keyboard layout. Okay.
can you control it now?
No.
Because it says me you are controlling my screen.
Yeah, but I don't see. Yeah, I'm clicking and nothing happens. Yeah, no, I don't have access. All right, so can you push it? Oh, wait, do I? Oh, now I do. Wait, do I? No, there's no control. All right, push it and send me an invite.
Okay. While sharing my screen, or?
No. I'll clone it and I'll play around with it a little later.
Okay. Okay. I will send a Piazza post.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Professor,
Yes.
do you mind taking a look at my code as well?
Sure. What's up?
So let me share my screen. Oh, sorry, I have to enable the privacy setting. Give me just a minute. Or maybe another student can go first.
All right. Someone else?
Can I go first?
Go ahead.
Can
Go ahead.
I go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, so can I share my screen?
Sure. Go ahead.
Professor, can you see my
I can see.
Chrome?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, so I have an issue here.
Okay.
And
okay, saying topics.
I think it should be around here.
Okay, so what are you doing here? You're saying topics, map, topic, and topic underscore ID equal topic ID, editable, blah. Course ID, yeah, use params, yeah. Lesson ID. Okay. All right, so can you comment out line 27 through, well, 26 through 37? Can you comment that out?
I don't think I can do that.
Yeah, so just select 20 lines 26 all the way to 37. Just select all of them and do
This one?
command slash. There you go. All right, go back to your browser. Refresh. Okay, so now no. Go back to your IDE. Your IDE. Okay, so on line 24.
Here?
Okay, open, close curly brackets.
This one?
Yeah, and in there type all caps JSON.
Json.
All caps, all caps.
I don't know how to spell it. Can I give you my control?
Capitalization, you can capitalize. Let me see if control works. All right, let's see. All right, it's empty array. There's no topics. So let's see. Do you have a lesson? Okay, so you have a lesson. Okay, there are no topics. So did you have topics?
So should I put any topics inside first?
I have faced some issue too. It seems like something wrong on the reducer. You can check out the reducer first.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. Let me see the network. Okay, so we're getting topics. Let's see. All right, no topics there. We are going to the server, and the server's coming back with no topics. So it looks like you have not created any topics for these. So let's try creating a topic. Okay, let's do plus. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like it does create the topic. There it is, right?
Yeah.
If we go here, there are no topics there. We go in here. Okay, so it looks like they are there, but at first they're null for some reason, right? When you create them, looks like you're not updating the reducer correctly. Okay, so let's see. Let's look at the create. Where's your create? You create. Where's your create? Create topics for lesson. So create topics for lesson, blah, blah, blah. There it is. Create topics for lesson. Lesson ID. New topic. And what does this do? Let's see. Create topics for lesson. Create topics for lesson. Blah, blah, blah. So this must be working because it did create it in its response JSON.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So here, there's a topic. Dispatch, create topic. Okay, let's look at your reducer. This would be your topic reducer, right?
Yes.
And topic reducer, let's look for your create topic. Aha, there's a problem. Okay, let's try it out. Let's create another one. There you go, so that's working. that's working now. So let's go back to your topic pills, and we should be able to uncomment this now. There's our topic. See that?
Oh,
Yep. And so we don't need this anymore. We can comment that out. There we go. Right, and you can create
Oh.
topics.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Professor, I'm back.
Hi. What's up?
Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
So basically everything worked fine before adding the layout, but after I added the layout, things start to break apart. So right now I have the tables, and I can click in here, but once I click, these individual modules, things just disappeared. I do have some lessons and topics added for each of these individual modules, but now they just don't show anymore.
Okay. Just hover over the modules. Don't click it. Just
Okay.
hover. Once you at the bottom, it says courses, table. So courses, table, edit. And then, okay, all those IDs, right? Okay.
Yep.
Right, so click on it, see, click on it on one of them. Okay, then you get the module ID. All right, so it must be that it's not mapped. Can I see your routes?
Sure. You want to take over?
Yeah, let me do that. If it
Okay.
works, sometimes it doesn't work. Okay. Okay, that works. So let's see your course table, course. Where's your app.js? App.js. Okay, so you have route, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then route courses. So aren't you missing something here?
Yes. I noticed the one below that it still says editor, which was the older version.
Right. So, and this should be like an array, no? An array of a whole bunch of multiple things that map there, no?
I have it, but I have it under course manager.
Yeah, but then you what you get is competing routes. That one route says one thing and the route says another. So you have
Okay.
course editor here. So you either you have to keep this one or the other one, but not both.
Okay.
Right? Because now you have competing routes, right? It says, well, which one do I listen to? This one or the other one?
Okay. Can we delete maybe the one in app.js?
Let's see. Okay, and course manager, this should be, oh, because you have it in course manager. You have in course manager, then you have the course editor here.
Or we can move this to the app.
Okay. So this is courses table. So courses table, edit, courses table, edit, and the ID. Okay, first of all, you have a space here.
Oh.
Also, notice that your URLs don't have, module, don't have modules, don't have lessons. They're all // // // right? So you need to fix that, right?
Sorry, can you say that again?
So if this is your URL pattern,
Mhm.
then your module list, where's your module list? right? In here, the 2, oh, this is wrong, right? The 2 should be, right? So the layout, then the course ID. Okay, the only thing you're missing is module here. Okay, so we hover over this. Modules. There we go. See that?
Okay.
Yeah, your routes are wrong, right? So you have to fix maybe some other routes in there too.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let me do that right now.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. All right. One more.
Hi, Professor.
Yes.
So, so I'll just share my screen first. So, I question. So, how to to read the class? I mean the course title from there from the course editor page.
Yeah.
So, I mean I try to do like something like to pass to the editor page which does some work. So can you give me some like suggestions? At least not that one. This one. Yeah. Yeah. So how? Give me suggestion to how to get the the course title.
Yeah. So here in a use effect, right? You can in the course editor you can, okay, you have the layout, look, you have the course ID, right? And so using use effect, you can do a yeah, you don't want to do that line 22, find all courses. Yeah, comment that out. So you scroll up. Do you have a use effect React? Yeah, you have use effect. See that? Yeah, so you're gonna do use effect, then open up an arrow, curly bracket. So in there, you're gonna need course service. Do you have course service? Yeah, course service. Dot find course by ID. There it is.
Yeah.
And you're gonna pass in the course ID as an argument there. Okay. And then below that, you're gonna say dot then. Right, and you're going to get the course in there. The course object is going to come back. There we go. And then put it inside of an arrow. And then you need to set the title somewhere. So you need a
yeah, but I did it before, but like you said the then it doesn't that you said that then it's not a function. So
well, then you didn't implement find course by ID correctly. Go to find course by ID.
Find course by ID course suffix.
Where's your find course by ID?
Let me see here.
Okay, so you're not returning. See line 35. You need to return.
Oh, so I need to.
Or remove the curly brackets above it.
The curly. This one.
Yeah, either that or put an explicit return. Okay. All right, go back.
Oh, here you go. Okay.
You need a state to.
Oh yeah, the const something.
So const course.
Item.
No, just course. No. So course, comma, set course.
Set course.
Okay, and then equal use state, and then open curly bracket. So an empty object. No, not an array. Not a string. An object. An empty object.
Just like leave it like that.
No, an empty object. Open close curly brackets.
Open close.
No, curly brackets, not it's not a string. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so in there, in the right in line 25, say set
Set
course.
course.
Course. Okay, now you can display there, right there. Yeah, replace that with curly bracket course dot title.
Course. Dot title.
Yep.
Okay, here you go. I see. And okay, thank you very much. And I have one more questions about the go back page. So the last assignment we did is let me see, go back page. Is like history.go back, but I realized when I get to like to some lessons to a module, I will go back to the last lesson we click, last module we click, then go to the previous page. So is that fine? I can do like course link to the course, the layout, or
Yeah, no, you have to, otherwise it won't work.
okay, got you. Okay, and any else? Okay, I think those are my questions. I have. Okay,
All right,
thank you very
then.
much.
Okay.
Professor, can I just ask one more thing real quick?
All right, real quick. It's been a long day.
Just yeah, I understand. Thank you. Let me share my screen. So I was able to get all the routes fixed, but when I try to so update the topics, lessons and modules worked fine. So for example, if I do that, and then click check, it just errors out, but it actually already made the updates when I refresh it. I just don't know why this.
Yeah, you're not updating the router, your reducer correctly. So step through and through as it comes back from the service. See what's coming back from the service and step through everything.
You're
No,
talking
not
about the
here.
topic reducer?
Not here. In your start at your topic pills and see what comes back from the server and make sure that what comes back from the server flows into the reducer correctly.
Okay. Okay.
So start at the topic pill. So where's your update here? All the way down, no?
Yeah.
All the way down. There's your
Topic,
update, right? Okay, so put a whole bunch of breakpoints here. Obviously in your browser, put breakpoints and step through the status, step through the whole thing, putting breakpoints and make sure that that it flows correctly into the reducer. Put breakpoints also in the reducer, making sure that you are updating the correct thing.
Okay.
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 All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks.
Good night.